when you face different challenges in different situations, for me personally, they often come to the surface on the sporting field, whether it's a lack of belief, uh, being able to find your voice, like I said, different emotions that come out. So frustration, all those different things, like most prominent in a sporting environment. And so what better place to learn to deal with those different challenges than in that environment? I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. Sport teaches us so many valuable life lessons, and the story I want to share with you today is from an experience I had as a young fella. I was so blessed to have had some amazing coaches when I was younger. I had two different international coaches for football, played for their country. Another guy who had grown up in England and played for Liverpool in the reserves, but still like at an incredibly high standard. And these are some of the coaches I had from a young age. And one particular coach, when I was 13 and 14, maybe 15 as well, he was my coach. He'd played for Scotland. He was a big man. I found him as a shy kid quite intimidating. He was a close talker. So when he talked to you, he'd be like right up in your face. I found that really quite challenging. But this man also taught me just the most incredible life lessons. His name was Frank Haffey. He played for Scotland. He was a goalkeeper. He was an incredible goalkeeper, but he also played in a game where his team let in 9 goals against England. And even though, high quality and a lot of those goals, it's like when you're a goalkeeper, they're not your mistake. He just copped an absolute smashing to the point where he needed to get out of the country and he came and lived in Australia, which was good luck for me. Ended up playing with his son, and I remember he talked about how important it was in football to use your voice. He said, you should be coming off the field with a sore throat. Now, for a shy kid like myself, I found that really challenging. But there was also part of me in there that was an extrovert. And whether he saw something in me that he knew needed to come out, or maybe I didn't notice him having these same conversations and being so vocal towards other people on the team, but I seemed to feel like at times he was picking me out, like, come on, I can't hear you. So I had to push myself out of the comfort zone because it was less painful to be yelling out at the top of my voice as a 13 and 14-year-old, encouraging my teammates, was to have him talking really closely in my face, asking me why I hadn't done it. So by his encouragement, but also by pushing me, I learned to use my voice. I learned to have the confidence to be cheering on my teammates and encourage them and not being concerned with what people thought. Yeah, I'm sure you can imagine initially as a shy kid, I was very intimidated and just distracted here for a second. Why is it every time my dog sits here quietly, every time I start recording a podcast, he decides he wants to jump up? So you may have heard some tiptoeing around the room again. Anyway, I digress. So this coach and this great man, Frank Haffey, he helped me to find that confidence. And that's just something that stuck with me as I grew up and continued to play, is that I always was a very vocal player, and it perfectly suits my personality. I play my best when I'm doing that. I'm a cheerleader. It's just something that comes naturally to me, to be encouraging my teammates and also holding them to account. And that's how I find my flow. And I don't know how I would have found that if I hadn't had that experience where I was pushed into it, encouraged into it. But it wasn't just about like, I don't know if I'm making it sound like a really intimidating thing. He did it in a loving way and an encouraging way. I can also remember a conversation he had with me at the end of one of those seasons. I think it was that first year that he coached me in the under-13s, because we hadn't had a good year as a team. We were in the top division. I think we might have won the lower division the year before, maybe maybe Division 3. We got bumped up a couple of divisions, and we'd had a tough year. We won a few games along the way, but we're out of our depth. And he came up to me after the game, his typical close after the game, after the last game, the end of the season, his typical close talking. And he just said to me, I want you to promise me you're going to keep playing football. He said, because you've got a gift and you need to use it. Now, that's just something that stuck with me. And I did keep playing for a long time. I've had my last season of football, competitive football, was a couple of years ago, and I've pretty much played since then, with a few years off here and there, a couple of little breaks for 2 or 3 years. But what more than just like the football ability, because I was never anything that was going to take me to great heights from a football perspective, but I can only imagine looking back that he saw something in me beyond football, because it's certainly been something in my life that's been a place that I've learned a lot about life. It's also a place where I've learned a lot about human behavior and been able to, it's had such, a positive influence. It's such a great training ground when you face different challenges in different situations. For me personally, they often come to the surface on the sporting field, whether it's a lack of belief, being able to find your voice, like I said, different emotions that come out, so frustration, all those different things, like most prominent in a sporting environment. And so what better place to learn to deal with those different challenges than in that environment? And so hearing that message from Mr. Haffey, as I called him back in the day, was something that really motivated me to continue to play, but also the fact that it stuck in my head all these years later, it must have really inspired me to be better than what I'd been till that point, because I hadn't really had a great deal of experience of people building me up to that extent and really believing in me and pushing me. And I really liked it. And it was always something that helped me in lots of different areas. Having someone there that did it in a kind way, but pushed me and got me beyond what I thought I was capable of. And that's true in a sporting environment, in a work environment, social environment. Just having someone in your corner that believes in you and is prepared to help push you along. Now, my parents gave me an awesome upbringing where they gave me the freedom of choice, and that's something I'm truly appreciative of, because I know that there are a lot of people that didn't get that opportunity just to choose their own future beyond school, and even subject choices, all of those different things. But there are times where I wish I'd been pushed more. So it was so good to have these mentors and coaches pop up throughout my life to be able to help me to do that. Now, like I said, as a shy kid who didn't really have a voice and always spoke quietly in any environment, like I said, when I wasn't with my friends, always spoke really quietly because I didn't want to bring attention to myself in case I made a mistake, or in case I got any sort of unwanted attention, because I didn't have that confidence. And often attention ended up in me doing or saying something that I always felt myself made me look a certain way. So to have someone like that lift me up, absolute life changer. And this is our opportunity now as adults through sport to be able to make that same difference for young people. And that is something that I've definitely paid forward and made a big part of my life. I started coaching when I was probably only about 3 or 4 years after that year. So when I was about 16, maybe 15, 16, 17, actually maybe only a couple of years beyond that. And it's something I've always tried to do, is to make it a fun experience, a positive experience for the people I've coached. And I know the difference it can make, and it gives you so much satisfaction and fulfillment. And if you've done any training, coaching, encouraging, mentoring in a work perspective, you know what I'm talking about. You know how beneficial that is. So my challenge to you is that in your day-to-day life, can you identify where people are behaving in a way that maybe they could do with a boost, and just trying to find the right thing to say at the right time to help them find a bit of that belief. Sometimes when people are acting in a way that you think, particularly if they're younger than you, and you think maybe that behavior is not really acceptable, have a think instead about what could they need to help them change their behavior. Do they just need someone to listen to them? Do they just need some attention? Do they just need some structure? Maybe they just need to be taught something that they don't yet know. And this could be you also when you're thinking about your own children. Rather than diving into looking at what people are doing wrong and finding mistakes in things and being critical and holding people to standards which are unfair, come from that perspective. How can I build this person up? How can I help them to be better? And sometimes it can be really quite challenging, particularly if that person's behaviour is really hard to take. I'm thinking about sometimes when you're coaching young people and they're particularly attention-seeking and sometimes maybe disruptive and a bit louder and a bit just wanting to be that center of attention. Instead of getting frustrated at that, how can you help them to realize that they are good at that they do have a place in performing in front of people? Because what generally happens is if they're not given recognition for their ability to be that center of attention, then they'll find other ways to try and get that recognition. Sometimes it just requires someone like me or you to help them see that they're going better than they think and they don't need to be trying so hard. So that's my challenge to you, is to look at the world through that lens. If you're looking at someone's behavior, particularly younger people, what do they need? What could you help them? What did you not get? What assistance did you not get that you needed that would have helped them in that situation? Or what assistance did you get that you can then pay forward? Such a positive impact we can have through that sporting environment. And it's free, but the payoff is massive. And if you've got a great story about a lesson you learned in sport, then let me know. Send me an email, info@ianhawkinscoaching.com. And if you're feeling really brave and you've got a great story that you've learned a heap from and you're willing to pass that on by telling your story on the Sport is Life podcast, then let me know that too. I'd love to have a chat to see if you're a good fit. And together we can help even more people to create positive changes in their life, lift themselves up, and maybe some of those people around them as well. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.